765 international wickets, 37 international fifers, 4,394 international runs, and the same number of test centuries as Tala himself, and more overseas centuries than Tala. 78 international catches. Ravichandran Ashwin has retired from all formats of international cricket as of today as the number three ranked all-rounder in the country, in the world, sorry.
In the world, yeah, indeed. One of the greatest all-rounders to have played in our generation. Uh, that makes Virat the only player from the 2011 batch to remain in this current test squad. Are there
Yeah.
any hints of what's cooking in the back room?
Look, there's possibly a lot. There are some sources in CricBuzz saying there have been certain pushes towards a lot of senior players to move on from certain formats of cricket. I think they are starting to make certain transitions, and it was pretty evident. But I think in terms of Rohit Sharma's press conference, there has been a lot of things that we should discuss. I think he was implying on the fact that the management might have pushed Ashwin to retire, and it goes to show, right?
Yeah, there were hints here and there in Rohit Sharma's press conference. Like Rohit said, like when he landed in Perth, there were talks between him and Gautam Gambhir on the selection of Ash, which he mentioned he would be talking about it when there is a good time to talk about it. Is there
Exactly.
a good time to talk about it?
Look, I don't think Ashwin is going to be discussing it anytime soon. We will get a few, movements in the plot later on. But I think in terms of what Rohit Sharma said, Ashwin spoke to him about it as soon as he landed. This was after the Perth test. I think that is why he was given a chance in the pink ball test at Adelaide, as a last test match kind of a thing. He didn't want to create too much of a scene about it, and he's finally, committed to the decision now that it's happened after the GABA test.
Yeah. The end says they are changing my beautiful team into a soap opera. This is sad to see.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's going to be a lot cooking. I have a feeling in this BGT series. I think, a few years ago, I think exactly one decade back, another CSK legend had announced his retirement midway through a BGT.
Not announced the retirement. Ran away from the tournament.
Nah, but no, in this case, I think that there is a lot to talk about in terms of Ashwin's retirement. I don't think he himself was ready for it. There has been a certain level of probing from the management, a certain level of pressure that's been put on him, especially with Washington Sundar's performances in the previous series against New Zealand, which, in my opinion, were impressive in a certain sense, but not to an extent that you dropped hands down the best player in Test cricket history in this past decade.
Yeah, let's be cutthroat. Washington's performance was in rigged home conditions. It doesn't imply he's a good overseas player like any day, like what Ash has set the standards. But I think India are
With
taking a
what?
very, very good and early call to think Washington Sundar as the next replacement for Ashwin.
And I'm also pretty sure that they're looking at someone like Akshar Patel to come in place of Jadeja. I think we will see all of that progressing further, depending on whether we qualify for the WTC final or not. I think if we do qualify for the WTC final, Rohit Sharma will continue as captain till the series is done. If not, which is the more likely scenario, I am pretty sure that towards the upcoming England series, they might be done. There might be a
It's
lot
not
of
just Rohit Sharma. I think half of the team will be gone.
exactly. The primary names under scrutiny would be Jadeja, Rohit, and maybe even Virat Kohli. The others are still slightly younger blood. I don't think there should be too much of an issue with that. KL Rahul has been pretty consistent, so I don't think they're gonna look beyond him for now. But yeah, we should ask our fathers if they were confident of Ash replacing Kumble. We might, yeah, true. That might be a certain aspect that we need to look at. But Ash replacing Kumble has now ended as the second highest wicket taker in Indian cricket history and has scored over 4,000 runs. So you can't exclude the runs segment of it. He's been absolutely brilliant in my opinion.
Yeah, Ash has overperformed or over delivered from what he had promised with the bat, definitely. Like
Absolutely.
breaking the records of someone like Tala scoring international centuries. It's something
No,
massive.
he scored a bunch of them in pretty tough conditions as well. The Chennai test, he saved our asses that innings with Jadeja as well. So there's been multiple times where Ashwin has batted to save our asses in the back end of an innings. And in my opinion, personally speaking, I think he did deserve a better farewell than this. Um, I think he deserved a proper farewell at the Sydney Cricket Ground. SCG would have been a proper place for him to come in because it allows us to play two spinners, the conditions over there. But yeah, just a thought.
Not to forget, there were some classics from Ashwin's batting display in Bangladesh series when our qualification was on the line. Ash and Iyer batted through day five
Yeah.
to score that quick 100 deficit that we needed.
Yes.
A lot of instances where Ash has saved our asses, though.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, nobody can forget. Oh, who's gonna replace Jaddu when he retires? I think they're already looking at Akshar Patel. I'm not sure why he hasn't been picked for this series. I think it was just a matter of too many spinners in one squad, especially in overseas conditions. Um, for all you know, Jadeja, Akshar Patel is more effective as a bowler. Jadeja has been more effective as a batter in terms of Test cricket. But given the you know progress that Akshar has been making in the recent past in terms of his batting, I think they're already starting to look at him as the likely option.
Yeah, I think Akshar is a very like-to-like replacement to Jaddu.
Absolutely.
Is currently better as a batsman as well, but Jaddu in home conditions with the ball is still exceptional.
Absolutely. So yeah, it all comes down to how they want to look at the playing 11. Maybe one and a half years from now, there might be chances, flowing in for a lot of new players to come in, like Tanush Kotian, and Abhimanyu Vishwaran has been waiting on that bench for I don't know how long. Rajat Patidar has probably done well enough to deserve a few more chances. I know he didn't perform in the England series despite the chances that have been given. Sarfaraz Khan is waiting for his chances. So there are a lot of aspects here. And yes, I agree. Ashwin's brains will be incredibly missed in the future. Hopefully, there's someone else coming in who can think along the same lines, who can put that much thought into just nerding out about cricket in general, even off the
Yeah.
field.
We need
But
more players who are brave enough to try like Ashwin.
yes, absolutely. So let's get into what the Border-Gavaskar Trophy has given us so far. I think we've had another classic BGT absolute cinema, in my opinion. So yeah, how do you think the BGT has panned out overall so far?
It's perfectly poised to go to the Boxing Day test with the full
Full out.
sold out MCG for the Boxing Day test. I think it's perfectly placed. I would say in favorable conditions of India going into Melbourne, considering the track record that India has in Melbourne.
Yes.
Mm, Australia will be missing the services of Josh Hazelwood. Thank you very much. Please. He
Along with
says,
that, there has also been a certain little bit of news that came out after the end of this test match that Travis Head has suffered a groin injury. So there is a chance, slight chance, that we might not have to deal with that absolute menace of a batter at the MCG. So let's see. But again, Josh Hazelwood missing out on this little MCG Test match might actually be a little bit more of a bane to us than a boon because Scotty Bolland is going to be coming back in, and we know exactly how he's going to be performing at the MCG. He's absolutely brilliant. His style of bowling suits the MCG, and yeah, buddies, you better prepare yourselves.
yeah,
We're in for we're in for some test match coming in.
Boland average is what, 10, 12 in the G?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's some insane level record to have in a specific venue.
Yeah.
But Boland will
I think
be
now
extremely.
while we're discussing the whole aspect of fast bowlers here, Josh Hazelwood's injury just goes to show how much stress and strain that the fast bowlers have been succumbed to in this series, right? And that is what has been an absolute scheduling masterclass from the side of Cricket Australia because they left a gap of almost 10, 11 days after the first test so that their fast bowlers could, pick up, get refreshed, and come back all fresh for the pink ball test. Because your fast bowlers will be going through much more strain with the pink ball because it stops doing anything after the first 20 overs. And the same thing is going to happen now. Two tests have gone through, and they've given another gap of almost 9 days, something like that. And they're essentially looking at managing the workload of pacers like Stark and Cummins to ensure that they stay fit and fine for the upcoming two tests. So I think it's a very brainy move from Cricket Australia to make sure that Stark and Cummins are at the same level as someone like Bumrah. Even though Bumrah has outperformed them in the rest of the series, I think Stark and Cummins have had more impact because of the support that they've gotten around them. But
Yeah, it's not just a scheduling masterclass from Australia. If you want to have the likes of 5 test match series more frequently, this is how it needs to be scheduled. It's
yes,
not just giving advantage to one side. If we
yeah,
look at the Indian side as well, we have Shami coming back. So that gap is allowing him to play the Melbourne Test as well. Uh, it's a very good thing to have 8 days gap between 2 test matches. So
yes,
even our bowlers will be completely charged for the G.
yes. So let's look at it in a certain order because of where the series stands today. We are drawn 1-1. First match we won under Bumrah's captaincy. Second one we lost under Rohit. Third one was a draw, which could have been a loss as far as I know. Um, there there's a certain aspect I want to discuss now, which is captaincy, right? The conundrum between whether Bumrah should have continued as captain or Rohit is just being given that run until the WTC finals. And along with that, Rohit coming back and opting to play at six instead of as an opener. So, what are your views about that? Do you think it's the right decision? And do you think KL Rahul opening has been the better choice for India?
I have always stand the move of Rohit Sharma should bat in the middle order. Uh, we just got a slight glimpse in the T20 or ODI series that we lost against Bangladesh in Bangladesh. What Rohit can do in the middle. Rohit was
Yes.
injured with a thumb injury. He came in like it's perfect conditions for someone like Rohit who can slog the ball square of the wicket.
Yes.
So let's also not forget Rohit has performed well whenever the ball is old.
Yes. So
So
getting
that
through the
so
new
that
ball has
makes
been
it
Rohit's
perfect
priorities.
for Rohit Sharma's entry point to come in the middle. But six, I think it's a little too late. Either the
Correct.
team is suffering a huge collapse and
Yeah.
still facing a new ball, which makes Rohit still an opener,
Yes.
or the team has performed well and Rohit is coming in when
After the
the
80th. Exactly.
after
Second.
80 overs when you have the second new ball.
I agree.
But either ways, it's not making a difference. But KL Rahul opening and sticking with that position is a good move. I'm glad that India are not playing with his position again in this Test match series
Correct.
after a brilliant display of batting in the first innings from Perth.
Correct. So I think you look at it this way: you're not trying to maximize Rohit's abilities. You're trying to maximize KL Rahul's abilities. So you're continuing with him as an opener, and Rohit Sharma has to be the one who has to compromise for that because KL Rahul has been absolutely brilliant against the new ball. He's shown so much patience. He's made a slight change in his technique as well, which we'll talk about. And I think what makes Rohit a little bit more useful at six is the fact that over the past year or two, there's been this whole conversation about him being an intent merchant as an opener, which, in my opinion, has to be looked at along the same lines as Dhoni coming in at number seven, doing absolutely nothing for CSK, right? It's the exact opposite with a very similar role in a test match, if Rohit is coming in as an opener and trying to display intent and scoring 20 of 11 balls, it is absolutely useless because as an opener, you're not expected to play quick, you're not expected to show intent, you're expected to play time, you're expected to make the ball hit the bat, let it get old, set up the game for your upcoming middle order by helping them face an older ball in comparison to a newer ball. So showing intent and playing only 11 balls is kind of useless in my opinion. But the same thing, if he's coming in at six, allows him to play according to the situation. So he displays intent, but also has an added responsibility on his shoulders in terms of whether he thinks it's the right time to display that intent or not.
Yeah, spot on the intent part. And I think the word intent needs more proper definition.
Agreed.
Let's take a good example of Travis Head. He's a good
Exactly.
example for Travis Head because he loves Rohit Sharma, who shows intent.
Mostly.
So I saw a very interesting stat. Nathan McSweeney alone in this first three test matches
Exactly.
has left
We're
alone
talking.
more than
Yeah,
70 balls. Meanwhile,
exactly.
Travis Head, with that aggressive intent, with the past 6 7 centuries that he has scored, has left alone only 65 balls. So there is a huge gap in the definition of the word intent. When Travis Head uses intent, it's
Yeah.
some same decision that he does with his footwork as well. But with
Very
Rohit
calculated
Sharma,
risks. I think we saw that display also. But let's actually touch up on that Nathan McSweeney point once again, because I really want to appreciate what he's done for the Australian team. It might not look like much, but he's made a massive contribution in terms of how he's done with the bat. So you look at the first test, McSweeney did absolutely nothing, and I think that has more to do with the absolute brilliance of our fast bowling lineup, especially Bumrah. But you look at the next two tests, right? Adelaide first innings, McSweeney scored 39, which might not seem like much, but he faced 109 balls. Okay. And in the second innings, of course, there was not much to do in the second innings. He played 12 balls, he finished the game, and it was done there. Then you
yeah,
come into Brisbane. McSweeney has played, I think he's played 49 balls in the first innings and scored only nine, which is okay. But again, in the second innings, I think he didn't do too much. He played 25 balls, he scored 4 runs. But in the context of the second innings, that mattered a lot because their only job was to come there and get as many runs as they could in as less time as possible. So they were looking at declaration to try to give themselves something to bowl at. So I think he's done a brilliant job as an opener. There were calls for should Sam Constance have been the right choice, in terms of whether he should come in or McSweeney should come in, and I think he's done a good job.
yeah, brilliant job, spot on with that point. So McSweeney, who debuted at Perth, uh, I will completely give it off for McSweeney because facing Jasprit Bumrah on your debut on a deadly Perth wicket, definitely not a cup of tea.
Yeah.
But that Adelaide pink ball test, when the ball was moving, surviving 100 plus balls, that boosts lots of confidence in McSweeney.
And you also have to remember that McSweeney batted at twilight
Yeah,
towards the end of the day. And the both openers did a brilliant job. They survived without the loss of a wicket at twilight and took it forward the next day, which is very impressive from him. Good
yeah, they
temperament.
carefully handled the transition period. Very
Exactly.
brilliant stuff.
That
Like,
is what you
was,
expect from an opener in Test cricket, not 23 of 11. 23 of 11 does not always work.
yeah,
And that's something that people fail to understand.
yeah. Jaiswal and Rahul defending for 30, 40 overs, and then Pant and Rohit slog and play their shots.
I think there's a little bit more to that. 30, 40 overs is a bit of a stretch. This might not be a template that works all the time, especially not in the MCG. MCG, you can score easier runs much faster. And defending for 30, 40 overs is not necessary. If your openers survive 15 overs, they're expected to like be settled after that. You don't expect the ball to do much after 14, 15 overs. So I think it's very subjective again, but that's one way to look at it. But let's also talk about the first test, how Jaiswal, Kohli batted through that second innings for India. Great knocks from both of them. We were on the back foot coming into the second innings, even though we had a lead. It wasn't easy to bat.
Yeah.
So
Also, the conditions settled in, so it
yeah,
suddenly became a very good batting surface to bat on,
yeah,
which favored us, and we capitalized on it instead of a collapse.
yeah, and I think that was very masterful from Kohli as well because I haven't seen him play a test innings like that in a long time. Sweeping the ball, the aggressiveness, like he. So here's something that people failed to notice. He got to his 50 in I don't know how many balls, but from his 50 to his 100, he made it there in 49 balls.
That
People
was
fail to notice that
insane acceleration.
that is what you mean by intent. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I don't mean to like project it on anyone else, but you need to show intent at the right times, and he was very well supported by Nitish Reddy as well, whom we will talk about.
yeah. That was a typical Kohli innings, like proper Kohli template innings. Like the team was looking to declare, and Kohli
Yeah,
knew he had to switch gears and
exactly.
score the quick runs. That let's talk about the straight six that he hit to Nathan Lyon.
You would not expect that of any normal innings from Kohli that you would have seen in the past. And I think the team asking him to do something different is what might have added on to his responsibility in terms of why he's had so many failures in the recent past. But again, he's been poking at the off stump ball, which is completely his own issue. There has been a weakness that has been very serious with both Kohli and Smith in the recent past, with Kohli prodding and poking at unnecessary deliveries outside the off stump, and Smith being unable to play at balls coming into him. Okay,
Yeah,
so either he gets trapped LBW, or as we saw two times this series, he's nicking it, trying to glance it, it's taking the edge and going to the keeper. That is happening because of how much he's walking across to the off stump. So the more you walk across to the off stump, the lesser angle the keeper has to cover in taking the catch on his left.
yeah,
So
spot on.
love it, you edge it. That's going to go to the keeper, and a keeper of the caliber of Rishabh Pant is going to take those more often than not.
Yeah, so I'll give it off to Virat Kohli only in the first test, where he poked the fifth stump ball, but it was a very good ball, very good setup from his.
Ramping for room, insanely good bounce. So it took him by surprise. But all his other three dismissals that have come in Adelaide as well as Gabba have been him poking at unnecessary deliveries. And there have been calls for, every time Kohli pokes at an off stump ball, everyone starts talking about Sachin's innings of
Yes, CG innings. That comes
that
up straight.
easy innings without cover drives. Yeah, only leg side, no offside in front of square. All it's something that is always discussed each time Kohli is out to an outside off stump ball. I think that is something only Sachin could have done. That is a temperament only Sachin could have shown. Kohli's ego does not allow him to sit back and wait for something to show up for him. He has adapted some sort of a new template in Test cricket. I think that's what the team expects of him now.
Yes.
But
The
I still,
template has changed completely, and it doesn't
yeah,
make sense playing in a way like what Sachin played in
yeah.
that innings. Irrespective
It's
of that,
I think very
the
similar to that little bit of a downfall that Joe Root was facing as soon as that baseball era started, when the entire team was going a little faster than expected, and Joe Root was not able to keep up. I think Kohli is going through a very similar phase. Along, look, I'm never going to give him an excuse for poking at those of some balls, but it's just one factor, a very small factor, adding to maybe 5 to 10% of his problems. That is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the approach has changed quite a bit from the Indian cricket point of view after
Yeah,
the transition of Dravid to Gambhir.
yeah,
So you don't see a lot of balls being left alone. I
exactly.
think I think there's some order from the top that you need to play all the balls.
Yeah, and
It
it's
doesn't matter if it's a dot ball, you need to play
yeah,
all the balls.
exactly. It's taking away the essence of Test cricket. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. That's not what you're expected to do. But yeah, it's just something that needs to be looked at. Um, what's next? Let's talk about if Virat Kohli is on one end of the spectrum in terms of failures, Travis Head is on the other end of the spectrum with one failure and everything else top-notch success. So Travis had started off with 11 in the first innings at Perth, and I think that was just a Bumrah masterclass. There's nothing you can do about it. After which he got an 89 in the second innings, and people started to wonder, does Travis Head hate us?
More than Travis said, I'm
Pause
concerned about our 12 crores here.
Bro, hold on. This is important. If Leander is telling the truth and not messing with us, then I personally believe that we are better suited to play Nuwan Tushara ahead of Josh Hazelwood.
Yeah, an
Because
opportunity.
I felt I had a very bad feeling that both Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Josh Hazelwood become very similar in terms of the dimensions that they offer at Chinnaswamy. But maybe someone like a Nuwan Tushara who can bowl actual Yorkers might be a little bit more helpful, especially if we give him those green tops that we had last time. He should come back. Look,
Why does Prithvi Shaw have to come back if Hazelwood is injured? Can Prithvi Shaw bowl?
no, but I will tell you what Prithvi Shaw can do. All right,
But
so that's had uh, conversation. So
yeah,
after this line, he absolutely railed us left and right at Adelaide with that insane 140. He destroyed us at Gabba with the 151. And his 17 in the second innings, also in the context of the game, was perfect. His
yeah.
job was there, blasted, go, 80, declare. That's all. So let's talk about this whole scene between Siraj and Travis Head, right?
Yeah,
That happened.
before we touch upon the scene with Siraj and Travis Head, let's talk about how Travis Head has made Adelaide his fortress. Like how Kohli enjoyed playing in Adelaide. Like it's on very similar lines. Travis Head loves to play in Adelaide and he got a very warm welcome in that
Indeed.
innings where he scored 100.
So homeboy again. So he's expected to have that kind of support from the crowd, but he understands the pitch. It's very similar to what we see from KL Rahul at Chinnaswamy, right? When he comes to
Mhm.
Chinnaswamy, he performs.
Yeah.
Let's leave out that last New Zealand test. That was very unfortunate. Again, that had to do a lot with the conditions. KL came in with overcast conditions in the first innings, and then He came in exactly for the second new ball in the second inning, so it didn't really help his cause. But yeah, Travis Head in Adelaide is an absolute monster, an absolute beast. He is what Hitler was in 1940.
Insane. Like he's dictating the terms. Yeah. He's properly dictating the terms to the bowlers.
Yeah. See,
Are
I
our
think
bowlers so clueless when they see Travis Head bat? Or do they have no plans coming into bowl to Travis Head?
I think they do have plans. The plan to Travis Head is essentially keep it on middle and off stump, try to take it away from him. Hope in all things heavenly and celestial that Travis Head either edges one or misses one and it goes on to hit the stumps. But that is something that he hasn't done. He's actually played with a lot of good temperament in the first half of his innings to allow him to accelerate in the second half. And I think it has a lot to do with what Nathan McSweeney has been doing for Australia, which is see off the new ball. So with the ball not doing much in terms of movement, Travis Head doesn't have to worry about being in two minds about playing or missing. And that is something that our middle order hasn't had the luxury of because we've lost two early wickets very frequently this series.
Uh, if you look at the way Travis Head is dismissed each time,
Yeah,
it's always he's cramped up with the room.
exactly.
Bowlers don't give him that room when the ball comes in at
Middle and
fourth
off.
stump, not even the fifth stump. He can play it across on the offside uh,
Exactly.
very easily on the fifth stump. But when it comes on the fourth stump and you cramp up the room for Travis Head, it's gone. Either he nicks it to the keeper or the slip, or the off stump goes for a walk.
Exactly.
Or there is another option. Travis Head is a front footed player. So
Exactly.
you never see him play on the back foot. So he's always with the aggressive intent to play it on the up, on the offside, on the front foot, let's say. But when you have a fiery bouncer or ask him to play in a short ball, he has always struggled. And India never tried the short ball.
I agree. I think the only time Travis Head was actually subjected to a short ball was today
Yeah.
against India in the second innings. When he was trying to play everything, right? His job was to come out there and blast everything to the boundary. But yeah, law of averages will catch
The
up.
second innings is an exception to all the Australian batters. They had just one job, just to come and score quick for
Exactly.
10, 20 runs. That's all. Law of averages will catch up, and ideally, either one of Kohli and Rohit will turn up in MCG and SCG respectively. It looks really good for us. Yes, going into MCG, it looks perfectly fine as of now.
According to the scheduling, Aussies had only one job. Their job was to try to get two wins within the first three tests, which was possible if not for rain, right?
Yeah.
Because MCG and SCG have been venues where India has performed pretty consistently over the years. So you're looking at maybe okay, so take a look at how the Gabat has panned out. There has been a lot of comments on look at how far the Indian team has fallen from winning a test at Gabba, from beating Australia 2-1 to actually celebrating not having to go through a follow on, celebrating, avoiding a follow on. So there's two ways to look at it. Yes, we avoided a follow on. There was a certain aspect of luck, there was a certain aspect of character displayed by our number 10 and 11 batters, but that doesn't take away from the fact that a draw is something that holds so much more value in test cricket than it does in other formats. So playing for a draw is respectable. Given the situation that we were in, I think it was fine to do. We shouldn't be pissed off at the draw by itself. We should be more pissed off at how we got there, right? Because Rohit Sharma's slightly defensive captaincy makes him start to get a little nervous in terms of what he does when the team is on the back foot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hit. Yeah,
Post WTC era, we have seen so many wins and losses, just the results in Test cricket that The essence of a draw has been forgotten, but this reminded us again of how important a draw was. In case a team fumbles in the first innings, like how important this draw is.
I
Uh,
agree.
Character shown by Akash Deep and Bumrah.
Completely. So, look, walking out of the GABA, the happier side is definitely going to be India, right? Because we were on the back foot. Aussies had us like on chokehold. They were about to give us one rod from front and back. We were in no position to win that test match. Yes, avoiding the follow on made it possible to avoid a loss. But you need to look at it in terms of appreciating the fact that Akashdeep and Bumrah put together that kind of an innings, displayed character, and if we can appreciate what Ashwin and Hanuma Bihari did 3 4 years ago, then I think we should give the same amount of credit to both the Bengal Tiger and Jesse Bai.
Yeah, Bengal Tiger. I think it was more to do with Kohli's bat than Bengal Tiger itself.
I saw a very funny meme on Twitter that said Kohli's bat has spent more time at the crease than Kohli himself this
Yeah.
BGT.
What were those shots? Two late cuts,
Yeah.
two Stark, and a sixth on the mid wicket to Pat Cummins. Oof.
Yeah. Look, I think Akashdeep has actually been a very handy batter for Bengal, even in Ranji. I've seen him score a bunch of 50s, very similar to what Umesh Yadav used to do for us
Not to
back
forget,
then.
he has the fastest 50 in domestic
Exactly.
cricket.
Exactly. So it doesn't come as a surprise. I was more taken aback by the fact that Siraj walked in ahead of Bumrah and Akashdeep. Because I think if these two had walked in a little earlier, they could have, held it together a little more with a bit of confidence, knowing that Siraj is going to come in. He has a good defense. Okay? Siraj has a really good defense. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of actually scoring that deficit, getting those 30 runs at the end and making sure we avoid the follow on, I think Akashdeep should have been the clear option to walk in at number 9 ahead of Bumrah and Siraj. I don't know why he came in at 11. But
You need
we
to
can all.
understand the chronology here. Siraj walked in so that
Yeah,
that aura will scare the Australian bowlers. That's
exactly.
what eased upon Bumrah and Akash Deep to play so freely.
Yeah. But
Also,
yeah,
others says the Hazelwood news is not confirmed. He will play IPL 25. Oh,
it
okay.
doesn't matter. Look, I don't mind if Hazelwood plays or doesn't play because at the end of the day, in Chinnaswamy, I still believe that Tushara should be played ahead of Hazelwood. We'll talk about the IPL when the IPL comes around.
Yeah.
It's there's no point discussing it now because half our side is very injury susceptible, especially in terms of our bowling lineup. So let's also talk about the resurgence of Stark in comparison to what we saw in the first test and what we saw after that. Because there was this okay, again, we haven't finished touching up on this Travis Head aspect. So let's just wrap that up. Let's talk about the Siraj issue again. Um, in my opinion, I think Siraj was right in terms of the send off and all of that. I think there was nothing wrong from his side because all he did was okay. So you can read the lips, and Travis Head did not say well bowled. Okay, let's put that aside. Let's clear that out. Um, Gavaskar is completely wrong in terms of when he says Siraj should have given him the respect of of the score 140 and all that. Because dismissing a set batter at 140 still deserves the same amount of respect for Siraj. So I think when Siraj bowled the ball, as soon as he got the wicket, his reaction was, if you read lips, he said, "Come on, yeah," something along those lines, which is very normal for Siraj. Travis Head's response, again, if you read the lips, he did not say, "Well bowled, mate." And after that is when Siraj gave him that send off. So he was retaliating to what Head said, and I don't think Siraj is in the wrong there. Again, they were fined a bit of their match fees, and all of that has been sorted out in the other side. But what has happened after that, right? On multiple occasions, not just after that, but even in the past, is certain unnecessary displays of aggression by Siraj, which might not necessarily be backed up by actual circumstantial requirements.
Yeah. So this unnecessary aggression is lot of the times due to the cause of lack of sense in bowling from Siraj. Like he loses where he's bowling, where he needs to bowl. So once he starts with that aggression and he gets whacked for 4 or 6, that's when you see Siraj coming back into his senses and bowl on the right lines or the right pace. Yeah. But most of the times of late, he's been very on and off, like he's getting whacked. His uh, economy is higher even in test cricket.
Yeah,
uh, I think he needs to have some sense while bowling before he shows such aggression, which is very unacceptable. The send
correct.
off was pretty good, but
Look, I
unnecessary.
have no issues with the Travis Head incident. I just have issues with everything else that he's been a part of.
Yeah,
So now that we wrap that up, let's get back to this whole Stark debate. Because what Yashasvi Jaiswal did in the first innings was applauded. It was looked at as um, sheer aura. Like he's told Stark that he's bowling too slow. He scored, a solid daddy 100 after telling Stark something like that. Stark was put on the back foot, but you need to look at the kind of conditions that Stark bowled on. Um, it was a very dry pitch. It was There was no green left on the pitch, and I think somewhere in there, that beast was woken up.
yeah. I never expected from Stark to show up. This gave me like 2014-16 vibes of Stark. Uh, we could see the pace is still there. It's still consistent, but what we saw from Stark in 2018 series or 2020 series was so off the mark, and Indian batters were well off playing Stark. But
Exactly.
this time, I think he has worked on something. Uh, he's not bowling too outside off, and sticking to his strength of bringing the ball back in,
Yes.
and we are seeing a lot of fiery bouncers back in stock.
Yeah, a
This
lot of
was,
fighting bouncers and those accurate swinging Yorkers that he bowls to the
yeah.
batters, especially with the new ball, right?
The
So that,
swinging Yorker has got a huge upgrade,
yeah. So
but good
after
to
the
see
whole
the
ball
bouncer being back. But Jaiswal just woke the monster up in stock and is now all pumped up.
exactly. So that first delivery that Jaiswal got, first ball of the test in Adelaide, it just goes to show. It reminded me of the first ball of the Ashes that he bowled, a few years ago.
To
The
Rory
same,
Burns.
yeah, the Rory Burns, the same outswinger that lands on the legs. It goes crashing. It went crashing into the stumps in that case, but in this case, got Jaiswal out LBW, and I think Stark is well and truly back. I think he will be a little easier to play on the next two test matches because the pitches might not give him the same kind of assistance. Um, but it was scary. It was scary watching Stark bowl in the Adelaide Test and the Gabba.
Yeah, absolutely impressive from Stark. Uh, moving ahead. So, do we have anyone other than Bumrah showing up?
So, in my opinion, in the last three Test matches, the bowling lineup has been Bumrah and nothing else. Because look, in the first Test, Harshit Rana was actually kind of decent, but in the second Test, he got blasted. He had probably the most forgettable second Test that anybody could have ever dreamt of. And I think it is time to start having Akashdeep bowl with the new ball instead of Siraj. Siraj bowling maybe for the first change might help a little bit more. Australia will face the wrath of Mukesh McGrath. Maybe not yet. Hopefully, Shami comes back, bro. I really hope Shami comes back. I'm kind of desperate.
Yeah, Akashdeep has more pace than Siraj. I think there's a lack in pace from Siraj if you compare it to the previous tour to Australia. He's bowling consistent 134s, but
Yes,
previously it
yes,
was
weird.
He was in 138 to 142 range in the
140. Yeah, easily touching 142 back in 2021, 22, and all that. So I'm actually surprised that his pace has come down, and his pace coming down has not impacted the movement that he's getting at all. Okay, because 2022 was when I've seen like the best of Siraj in terms of how he used the scrambled scheme to his advantage. So it's actually been a little concerning, but maybe coming in, at the first change instead of bowling the first spell with Bumrah is going to be something that might help the team more than it helps Siraj. It's going to help us get a few more wickets in the power play because Akashdeep with the new ball has been a little bit more potent as we saw today.
Yeah. Uh, Leander says absolute brain dead decision to play Deep over Rana, and I would have actually wanted Rana to play at the Gabba over Deep. Very interesting thought.
Look, in my opinion, Harshit Rana and Akashdeep in terms of bowling might not give you a large difference when you compare them. But Akashdeep with the bat has much better temperament than what Harshit Rana can display. Even though Harshit Rana's domestic numbers with the bat are pretty good, they're pretty
Yeah.
decent. But Akashdeep in the recent past has done incredibly well for Bengal with the bat.
Yeah, I'll give you a few reasons why Akash Deep should play the remaining two tests. One, he has a very good zip and bounce that is very suitable for Australian conditions. This was his first international in Australia. So the first innings he was very off the mark, but the second innings you could see the typical Akashdeep. Like he's bowling quick 140s, bringing it back into the batsman. He just pulled his length slightly back, and the very first ball was very evident, like how it came back into the batsman. Uh, I think going into Melbourne, Akashdeep will be much more helpful because he's a taller bowler and you get more
Yeah.
bounce, and Melbourne offers you more pace and bounce, which is suitable to Akashdeep. Now that he's kind of adjusted to the conditions, I think he'll be well off playing at the Melbourne.
With the
Uh,
new ball. Yeah.
and not to forget, Akashdeep played the practice game in Melbourne, where he
Exactly.
picked up wickets as well.
Yeah.
We also saw
So it's
Mitesh
going to be
Pujara
so
with
it has less to do between whether Stark or Bumrah steps up. It has more to do whether Bolland versus Akashdeep who does better because I think that's going to be the decisive factor for us at the MCG.
Yeah, but now that Akash Deep has scored well off with a bat, avoided as a follow on, looks promising from the second innings, and with
Yeah.
Ash going out of the team and Shami coming in, what will be the bowling combination for Melbourne?
I think that's something only time will tell. Shami coming in is not confirmed yet. Right?
Okay, it's not confirmed.
Not confirmed. We still
Subject to
don't
fitness.
know. He's subject to fitness, yeah. So he still has to be cleared. I think I think there's enough time for him to be cleared. We have a whole week ahead of us, so he should be fine coming in. But if he lands like 1 or 2 days before the test match, I think it's going to be very difficult to play him at Melbourne because there is a certain level of jet lag that will also be involved. So he also has to get used to the conditions of the sleep cycle and everything else. He has to train a little with the team. So realistically speaking, I think Shami might only be ready for the final test, which by which
Does he
point I
like?
think yeah, like we might as well go ahead with the same team at that point. There's no point flying a whole new player in just for one test.
Yeah,
And so along with this fast bowling lineup, there is a fourth fast bowler in the team that I really want to look at because not just with his contributions with the ball, with his contributions with the bat as well. Nitish Kumar Reddy has been an absolute gem for India.
yeah. I think it was a very good decision to fast track him and debut him directly in Australia.
I agree.
Very good decision. He has
You look
he
at
has
other
the
teams.
temperament and the confidence. to bat even in foreign conditions. Impressive from NKR.
So you look at all the teams that have been successful in Test cricket in the over the last few years, right? India has managed to do it without having a fast bowling all rounder. But if you look at the other three teams, which are England, Australia, and New Zealand, and even South Africa to a certain extent, um, New Zealand had initially they had Colin de Grandhomme. Now they're working. They're doing a good job. They had again, Tim Southey has just retired, but until the last test that they played, Tim Southey has been giving them a lot with the bat. So when your fast bowler can give you that kind of an impact with the bat, it really helps. Australia has had Cam Green, they have Mitch Marsh, then England obviously they're working with Ben Stokes. South Africa has Marco Jansen. So the kind of dimension that a fast bowling all rounder adds to the team is something that is very important in overseas conditions, especially. And I think Nitish Kumar Reddy to us is going to be what Hardik Pandya couldn't be in Test match cricket.
Yeah, still early days, but very promising and has lots of talent, can be really helpful. But only time will tell.
Yeah. So another aspect that I want to touch upon in terms of Nitish Kumar Reddy, one of the biggest positives of the series. I don't know how the think tank had the positive review in, but I'm glad they did. Yes, absolutely. I'm very happy that he's done so well, especially with the bat. With the ball, actually, he's been good with the ball, but there is so much more he can work on, right? So I was just looking at his bowling action. There is a small change he can make to his bowling action, which could offer him much more in terms of pace, um, and also avoid a few injury scares, right? Because that is something that is very important to look at in terms of fast bowling all rounder. So when Nitish Kumar Reddy comes into bowl, his left leg, he jumps up, his right leg is what he jumps up with, and when he lands on his left leg, it goes very across from his right leg. So that is one thing that he needs to work on. And while he releases the ball, if you look at a Bumrah versus a Nitish Reddy, Bumrah's left leg is very straight when he lands on it to bowl. Nitish Reddy's leg bends when he bowls, and that is going to take away maybe around 5 to 6 kilometers per hour of pace from his bowling. And if he
Easily.
does work on that in the future, he has even more potential to excel as a bowler. We already know that Nitish Reddy's figures as a bowler has been something that's been better as a batter in domestic cricket for him, and there's so much more potential for him to work on.
Easily. So this reminds me of the curious case of Ishant Sharma, who was,
Exactly.
I think, one of the tallest bowlers India had ever produced, but he never utilized his height. But he had a
Yeah,
similar bend in his knee while releasing the ball. Initially,
exactly.
Ishant Sharma was firing 140s, but to the fag end of his career, where he was bending his knee, it was back in 130s. But
Yeah.
we also saw comparison of different eras in the bowling action of Nitish Kumar Reddy. He
Yes.
resembles the bowling action of the great Dennis Lilly.
Yeah. So there is a resemblance there. I won't shy away from it, but I'm just saying there could be a little bit more potential in terms of what he could do with his action later on in his career. Because again, you need to be very careful for injury scares, especially in an era where getting injured could mean losing your place in the team because there's so much more talent waiting to take his place.
Yeah. Very beautiful point, Liana. Do you all think Mohan Markle is a good bowling coach for us? Before I take up this point, what do you think?
Um, in overseas conditions, I think we needed someone like Morne Markle. He's been helpful, and the fact that he himself comes and bowls in the nets is actually very useful for us. He still has, at least he won't have the pace that he used to have back in the day, but he helps the batters understand the kind of lengths that they need to be prepared for. So from that perspective, I think it does help to have Mane Markle.
Yeah, Mane has a very good cricketing brain, so I'll give it up to him. So, I never expected Harshit Rana to be so ready for Australian conditions, but this is something Mane Markle has worked in the back room with Harshit Rana since KKR. But someone on the likes of Akash Deep or Siraj who have the language barrier. Siraj, in his press conference after the practice pink ball game, he mentioned the important conversation with our bowling coach from our previous bowling coach. I forgot his name. Uh, Bharat Arun. Yeah,
Okay.
he had a chat with Bharat Arun, which he gave a lot of credit that helped him free up his mind and enjoy his bowling. Like, I think there is still the need for the Indian touch, and the language barrier is a huge psychological factor for the Indian bowlers. Although Mane is great with his cricketing brains, I highly doubt he can connect on the lines of Siraj or Akashdeep.
Yeah, because especially with someone like Siraj, whose thoughts are processed in a more emotional manner than a logical manner, right? There is a certain sense of logic to it. I'm not going to take that away from him, but there is a lot of emotion that goes behind any aspect of thought that Siraj puts his brain into. So I think Morne has to connect at that emotional level with Siraj before he actually makes an impact with him, and maybe that's going to show that's already showing in the kind of bowling that he's doing.
This is his brother Marne Markle, not Albi Markle.
Yeah, bro. You're talking about the wrong marker. Right. So um, let's also look at Rohit Sharma at slips, right? Our fielding overall has been pretty good. I think one aspect that needs to be addressed is the amount of time that Rohit Sharma is spending at slips when there are better candidates to do the job, like Gill, Jaiswal, Kohli. All these guys are there to handle the job at slips. I don't know why Rohit Sharma is spending so much time standing at slips with the kind of reaction time that he has. He's slower in terms of movement um, when compared to maybe Gill, Jaiswal, Kohli, and many others in the team. I think since the New Zealand series, there have been more than 9 catches that have gone past Rohit Sharma in slips. So that's very concerning. In a span of 5 Test matches, it is extremely important to look at.
Yeah, catches win matches, as simple as that. And it's also high time the transition needs to take place in the slip garden as well. When will the seniors move away from the slips? When will the upcoming players step up and
That
rank up to the levels of what Kohli or Rahane or Pujara had set the standards in the slips?
so there's a very good point to be looked at over here. If you go back to the 2023 World Cup, right, there was actually an interview by the fielding coach. Um, he had a conversation with Virat Kohli, wherein Kohli had said that he wants to field at some of the non-hot spots. Right? He doesn't want to be at slips anymore. He wants to be in the outfield or maybe doing something different because he wants those primary um, fielding roles to be taken up by youngsters, which is why we saw Gill so frequently at the slips during the World Cup, which is why we're seeing Gill and Jaiswal fielding at slips and gully a lot more, but not enough, in my opinion. So you only see them when there are more than 2 slips in the garden. When there's only one slip, somehow it's always Rohit Sharma. And
Yeah,
you see,
let's also address the fact that the fielding is good because it's spread out most of the times. There
correct.
hasn't been a aggressive fielding approach. There's
Yeah.
no short leg. There's no proper gully. Like, I don't know what the fielding plans. That's what I meant when I said, like, does India not have a proper plan when they come into bowl to Travis Head?
Yeah. So there's a lot more they can do in this aspect. So hopefully they, fix it for the next test. I think we've covered pretty much everything. Oh yeah, 3-4 sitters and then take a match when the take a catch when the match is already gone, and that catch will be an absolute blinder.
Yeah, and taking that blinder won't compensate for the fact that you missed three, four sitters. A fielder who takes just blinders is not a great fielder.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's a lot more you can look at in that framework, but I
but
think
coming to the important point,
Hmm.
can Jay Shah qualify India to WTC finals?
Great. So let's bring back the calculator, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
Um, what does India have to do?
we end up on a beautiful Glenn Phillips score. Yeah, Glenn Phillips takes blinders but drops sitters. Definitely not a great fielder in my books. He just if you
He's a good
drop
ground
sitter, you're not a
fielder.
great fielder.
The thing with Glenn Phillips is he's a good ground fielder.
Yeah, I think Glenn Phillips is a good air fielder. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So like when he's diving on, when he's basically spread out like an eagle, he will take catches. But when it's coming straight to him, there's a chance that he's not going to take it.
he
And
will drop the sitters and cost you many games, which he has done already.
he has done that in the past. Yes, that is fair. That's a fair assessment. Let's get back to this WTC scenario, right? For India, it is a very straightforward option now. Win at MCG, win at SCG, and you are directly in the WTC final. 3-1 it was the minimum requirement for qualifying. That is still possible. 4-0 is ruled out, 4-1 is ruled out. So 3-1 is still a possibility. What happens if not? If Aussies win any one of these games, then they have to whitewash Sri Lanka and Aussies will qualify. If
Yeah,
Aussies, yeah, pull up the board.
yeah.
So let's
Let's
assume
just show how India can straight away qualify. So India wins in Melbourne, India wins in Sydney,
the
and
others
South
don't
Africa.
matter. South Africa beats Pakistan in at least one test. Even if the second one is a loss, it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Then
Yeah,
you
South
have
Africa.
Pakistan, West Indies, which is very irrelevant. Then you have
Yeah,
Sri Lanka, Australia.
this is
Even
the
if
primary issue.
Australia wins 2-2, Australia can't make it to the finals.
Exactly. So now you go back upstairs. Australia. Okay, let's say this one is a draw. Okay, one of the tests is a draw, and Aussies win the other two. That qualifies them. Um, if it is, if the Aussies win one more test here, um, then they need to win. I think one test and draw one in the Sri Lanka series. If I'm not wrong.
Yes, one off in the Sri Lanka and one win in this series for Australia
Yeah.
is easy walk into the finals for Australia. So realistically, India still are almost on the verge of ventilator.
Yeah. So the only way to qualify is to win the next two tests. Again, we are in a good position to win the next two tests because they're grounds that have been favorable to us. But losing even one puts us out of the race completely, as far as I'm concerned. Because as far as Sri Lanka are very potent at home, I really don't think the Aussies are going to choke against Lanka.
Yeah, but
Unless we get some Kamindu Mendis Prabhat Jayasuriya magic.
yeah, but can Jay Shah qualify India to WTC finals?
Is
Is
what?
how they can penalize Australia for slow over rate. And
Exactly.
if India just makes one of the two tests, the point difference will be 130 and 126. And if Australia gets docked at least 2 or 3 points for slow over rate, they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is
So this is how big of a difference the slow over rate can make. So we only
Australia's
believe in Jesha.
during the GABA test was actually pretty slow. I think the only reason they've been exempted this time is because of all the rain that was around, right? The rain kind of shadowed what Aussies were doing. So
Yeah.
there's
Can
Sri
SL
Lanka.
beat Australia at home in the previous? two test series that Australia has toured Sri Lanka, despite Sri Lanka having a trash team, they have managed to win one of the game.
Yeah,
So winning test in Sri Lanka is not an easy job for any team visiting Sri Lanka.
I agree. Especially now, given that they're having a bit of a resurgence, they're making those putty putty pitches, which are not easy to bat on anymore. And with the Australian batters struggling in difficult conditions, it might not be the easiest of series for the Aussies because they lack someone who can be their second spin option.
Yeah, you have Todd Murphy,
Yeah.
but it's been a very long gap since he bowled.
Exactly. And it's going to be the same dimension as Nathan Lyon, right? You're not getting anything different. Travis Head is also bowling you off spin. Nathan Lyon is also going to give you the same off spin. So you need to start searching for someone who can actually go to Sri Lanka and perform under those conditions.
Smith and Labuschagne, you have who can bowl leg spin.
Yeah, that option is always there. But let's see. I'm really
Yeah,
not sure.
no Rohit Sharma in Sri Lanka team, so they wouldn't have to worry about Travis Head. Yeah.
Exactly. I think Travis Head as a bowler is going to be much more potent in Sri Lanka than Travis Head the batter.
Yeah. Also, don't you think our batsmen are more comfortable playing spin in foreign conditions than playing spin at home?
Absolutely.
That's something that has done something that has to do with the wickets that we have been getting in Indian conditions,
Correct.
rigging wickets and getting rigged back.
Yeah. That actually is exactly what screwed us over completely in the New Zealand series. But I think we've discussed that in the previous live stream. Please go check that out. I think that brings us to the end of the discussion. Sumuk, any last words? Nothing else?
Yeah, nothing. We just wait until Melbourne, 8 long days of gap,
Yes.
but we'll be back in 8 days to cover the action of WPL that unfolded this week. So stay tuned. So make sure to subscribe, hit that like, press that
Yeah.
bell icon. You know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, same old lick scare subscribe.
Yeah. You all know what to do. Yeah.
Peace out.
Yeah. That brings us to the end of episode. We shall see you soon. Until then, peace and bye.
Jai Shri Ram.